Hi, good afternoon, Mercy, and good afternoon, everybody else. Pleasure meeting you. My name is Suhas Baxi. I'm co-founder and CEO of BiofuelCircle. BiofuelCircle is a digital platform for bioenergy supply chain. We connect the rural biomass to industrial biofuel end use. So we essentially have farmers and rural enterprises on one side, biofuel companies on the other side, and biofuel end users on the third side. These are the three different set of users that we connect. The motto of the company is, how do we make it easy for a rural farmer to create value out of the waste that he generates every year? How do we make it easy for the industry to access that biomass and make sure that we as a country have a large supply chain of carbon neutral biomass as an energy source? As you all know, India has more than 200 million metric tons of biomass that gets wasted every year. If this is harnessed well, that could be an answer to 17% of India's energy need. So our focus is to create a more organized, more reliable, and more trustworthy supply chain. In the process, we will end up creating a market similar to a market for several different energy commodities the world over. If you look at the way crude oil markets work or markets of other energy commodities work, you essentially have three strong pillars. One is a policy framework, second is investment happening in the market, and third is an ability for users to participate and consider adoption. We found that in case of biomass, while the policy and adoption are two things which exist, a structure of a marketplace which can make investments happen does not exist, and that is the theme that we are working on. My own background is I have worked in three different industries, energy being one, where I was part of companies which were selling energy solutions or energy conservation solutions. Then I worked in energy trading and risk management domain, where I worked with technology companies as well as end-use companies. And then I was in leadership position with a few European multinationals setting up business in Asia Pacific. So that's my background. We are now a 50-people team and growing, based out of Pune. Thank you very much. Looks at success of solar and success of utility capacity solar. It has been driven by ability to create very large investments and make those utility scale investments successful. These policies are very different from policies which are required for making distributed level or retail level solar successful. Because the stakeholders are different, their queries and reasons and triggers for adoption are very different. I think the success that I have seen in the last few years of government's policy initiative is to now recognize that the stakeholders in bioenergy value chain are very different from stakeholders in every other renewable sector value chain. Once you start understanding who are the stakeholders, address the needs of those stakeholders, and create a sustained policy frameworks, then investments at several levels can happen. Okay, the parallel that I want to draw here is probably India's milk revolution. How did India's milk revolution succeed? You were able to convince smallest of the small cattle farmers to be part of a cooperative movement and contribute to a larger cause and gain also in the process. Now, if we want to drive large scale participation, which is what is required in case of biomass, the policy requirement is going to be exactly similar. How do we start looking at it as an opportunity to make sure that locally driven economic activities, local economic growth, and local consumption of energy which is generated through these efforts, that becomes possible? There is no reason why it should contribute to a larger scheme of things. Even if we are able to create local circular economy-based supply chains, it would have solved a very different problems altogether. So I think the type of solution required for driving biomass is probably very different from the type of solutions that policymakers were attempting in the past. They've now clearly started pushing small investments, triggers for small investments, getting these businesses above the radar, funding them for their working capital needs, etc., etc. A lot of these positives, in my opinion, Narsi, is going to now lay foundation for probably the biomass sector becoming a driver for biofuels and bioenergy at a higher level. I mean, that's my limited take on the scheme of things, but exactly what succeeded in distributed solar, exactly what succeeded in the milk revolution of India, those are the policies that will succeed even for the biomass sector. That is, as long as we keep on thinking about using biomass for a utility scale power plant for co-firing, a distributed level solution is never going to be possible. But the moment we start looking at small compressed biogas plants, creating compressed biogas and then driving local tractors and local DGs, generation sets through green fuel which is produced there, taking care of local energy needs. You've talked about an entirely different use case now. You don't really have to worry about them transporting biomass long distance. So solve that logistics problem by creating an end use which is a different end use. I think that's the way innovation will need to happen.